Why truffles are so expensive. A single fungus, smaller than a golf ball, can sell for more than a luxury watch. In 2021, a white truffle from Italy sold at auction for $184,000. Not a diamond. Not gold. A mushroom pulled from the dirt beneath an oak tree. To understand why, you have to forget everything you know about farming. Truffles cannot be planted like wheat or harvested on a schedule like tomatoes. They grow underground, in a secret partnership with the roots of specific trees, and no one has ever fully controlled how or when they appear. That uncertainty is the first reason they cost so much. Scarcity created by nature, not by marketing. Not all truffles are created equal, and this is where the price gap becomes almost absurd. The white truffle from Alba, Italy, is the most coveted variety on Earth, and it has never been successfully farmed at scale, only found wild. The black Périgord truffle from France, by comparison, can actually be cultivated with reasonable success, which is part of why it sells for a fraction of the white truffle's price per pound. A pound of good black truffles might run several $100s. A pound of prime white Alba truffle, in peak season, can climb past $3,000, and record specimens have sold for far more than that. The process starts long before any truffle exists. Farmers plant oak or hazelnut saplings that have been inoculated with truffle spores in a lab, then wait. Not for months. For years. A white truffle orchard can take a decade or more before it produces anything worth selling. And even then, there is no guarantee. Rainfall, soil pH, temperature, even the presence of the wrong bacteria can silently kill the crop underground, invisible until harvest reveals nothing there. This is where the real gamble begins. Growers spend years and tens of thousands of dollars preparing land, and the return depends on conditions they cannot fully control. Compare that to almonds or coffee, where yield is predictable within a reasonable range. Truffle farming is closer to prospecting for gold than growing food. This uncertainty is exactly why some growers have tried to escape Europe altogether. Oregon, in the United States, has a native black truffle industry, and Australia has built a booming truffle trade in Tasmania and Western Australia, partly because those regions sit in the opposite growing season from Europe, meaning fresh truffles can reach global kitchens even when Italian and French forests are dormant. But even in these newer regions, yields remain wildly unpredictable, and no country has managed to replicate the exact combination of soil and climate that makes Alba's white truffle so singular. Then comes the harvest itself. And this is where the story gets stranger. Truffles release their scent only underground, hidden from sight, which means they cannot be found by looking. They are found by smell, and the best noses in the world belong to dogs. Specially trained truffle dogs, often Lagotto Romagnolo breeds, can cost thousands of dollars and take a year or more of training before they are ready. A skilled dog becomes more valuable to a hunter than most farm equipment because without it, the harvest simply does not happen. Pigs were actually the original truffle hunters, prized because their natural sense of smell for the compound truffles produce is remarkably sharp. But pigs have an obvious flaw: they like to eat what they find. Most of Europe abandoned pig hunting decades ago in favor of dogs, who can be trained to dig, alert their handler, and back off, leaving the truffle intact for market instead of turning it into a snack. Once found, a truffle has almost no shelf life. Within a week, sometimes days, it loses aroma and begins to break down. This is not a product that can sit in a warehouse. It has to move from forest floor to auction house to restaurant kitchen in a matter of hours in the best cases. That urgency adds another layer of cost. Refrigerated transport, private couriers, and in some cases direct flights exist solely to get a truffle from Alba, Italy, to a restaurant in Tokyo or New York before it loses its value. And here is where the psychology of luxury takes over. A truffle is not really being sold for its taste alone. It is being sold as an experience, a symbol, a story a chef can tell at the table. Restaurants shave truffle over a dish in front of the customer, turning a $15 plate of pasta into a $150 event. The markup is not hidden. It is the entire point. People are paying to watch scarcity happen in real time. The market itself amplifies this. Truffle auctions, especially in Alba, are often attended by wealthy buyers competing publicly, sometimes for charity, sometimes for pure status. Prices at auction do not reflect the average cost of truffles sold to restaurants. They reflect what one person is willing to pay to say they own the biggest truffle of the season. That headline price then gets repeated in every article about truffles, reinforcing the idea that the entire category is impossibly expensive, even though a modest black truffle might sell for a fraction of that price per pound. One of the most famous examples of this happened in 2007, when a Macau casino magnate paid over $300,000 for a single white truffle weighing about 3.5 pounds. A price that made global headlines and became the reference point for just how far truffle prices can be pushed when ego and publicity enter the bidding room. The truffle itself was, by most accounts, simply a very good specimen. The price had almost nothing to do with flavor and everything to do with who was watching. There is also a darker side to this economy. Because truffles are valuable, hard to trace, and often traded in cash, fraud is common. Cheaper truffle species get mixed with expensive white truffle shavings. Synthetic truffle oil, made with a lab chemical rather than actual truffle, is sold in nearly every supermarket, training entire generations of consumers to associate a fake smell with a real luxury good. Ironically, this fake version has done more to build the myth of truffles than the real thing ever could, because most people have smelled the imitation, not the original. Climate change is now making the real product even scarcer. Rising temperatures and changing rainfall patterns across parts of Italy and France, the traditional heartlands of truffle production, are shrinking the regions where truffles grow naturally. Some estimates suggest global truffle production has dropped significantly over the past several decades compared to the early 20th century. Less supply, same demand, and prices continue climbing. Scientists and agricultural researchers have spent decades trying to reverse engineer this scarcity in laboratories, mapping the exact fungal genetics and soil bacteria that trigger truffle formation. Some progress has been made, particularly with black truffles, but the white Alba truffle has resisted every attempt at reliable cultivation. Nobody has yet cracked the precise formula nature uses, and until someone does, wild foraging remains the only real source of the world's most expensive truffle.